morning, everybody. Here we are again at Real Lives, Real People with Shyloe. It's great to have you here on Sunday, Father's Day, which is exciting for me. I'm happy to be here. And just to give you a little bit of information about myself, I am a certified transformational life coach. And I most often work with people with anxiety, depression, people with, health issues or have been through a health crisis that want to do some of the deeper healing work. That's my specialty. I'm excited today to have on somebody I have recently developed a really great friendship with that I care about deeply. His name's Dirk Terpstra, and I've already learned quite a few things from him. When I met Dirk, we were meeting with a bunch of different people in Lake Country at the little coffee shop there. And we were talking about a variety of different things, and Dirk shared that he's a heart math trainer. And I was very curious about what heart math is. I asked him to explain a bit more, and listening to him talk about the connection between the heart and the brain and the way it affects our body, just to be completely honest, I started crying in the coffee shop. Yeah, could have been hormonal too. But what he said touched me so deeply because a lot of my work, and I would actually say all of my work, really is focused on developing that relationship between head and heart and really coming from a heart place in everything we do. That's my commitment to myself, my commitment to my family, my commitment to my friends and to my clients. And so it is with great excitement that we're going to bring Dirk on Father's Day today. Happy Father's Day to all you fathers. And we're going to find out a little bit more about heart math. So here we go. There we are. There's Dirk. Now we can see him. Happy Father's Day, Dirk.
Hi. Hi, Shyloe.
Hi. It's great to see you in this space. It's kind of a little surreal because we're in this virtual world. So, initially I had wanted to ask you questions about Father's Day because it is Father's Day in order to honor all the fathers. But you know what? I think actually talking about heart math and how it's affected you in your life would be a way to honor fathers on Father's Day. So to start off, can I ask you a question, Dirk?
Well, I think that's what I'm here for, but I'm very happy to be here on your live broadcast. So thank you very much for having you.
Yeah.
And I'm also very grateful for all the work that you do, especially in this time that it's needed so much, that you just help, raise the awareness with people on, if we all do that, it's very powerful. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you. So I am so excited. Actually, this whole show makes me just so happy. I look forward to it because I love learning. I love asking questions. It's like one of my specialties, as you already know. That's one of the things you commented on.
I know.
Yeah, that I asked the different questions.
You're curious, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, very curious. So, I asked you this briefly before we started the show today because I had never asked it before. But can you tell me a little bit about what drew you to heart math? And maybe you should if you can give like a quick, I don't know, whatever you decide, but I don't know if you think viewers need a quick synopsis of what heart math is, and then you can tell them what drew you to it, or just talk about your story, how you got involved in heart math, because I think it's one of the most powerful shifters that we can have access to. Yeah,
I think so too, actually. And it's a couple of years back where I went through some traumatic experiences in my life. I lost in a very short time frame. I lost my dad and my brother and my mother and a best friend, and just in a few years. And that really literally brought me down to my knees, emotionally, but also literally. And after this period, I started interviewing people. I wanted to bring more light, more love, more compassion into the world. And I started interviewing people. I created my own platform, soullove.com, and I started interviewing people. I still do that. That's now, I think I started about 5 years ago. And one day I was asked to speak with Greg Braden, and you might have heard of him. Some people might have heard of him. He's an author, he's a teacher, he's a scientist. And he was explaining beautifully about the essence of who we are. And he brings in the science and he bridges that in a beautiful way. And I thought, wow, I was deeply, like, you get excited, when we talk together or with other people. I got really, really not just excited, but it filled my soul on a deeper level. I thought, this is amazing. And so I published the interview, got a lot of response. And then a few months later, I was actually asked to speak with the executive vice president of HeartMath. It's basically a not-for-profit institute based in Boulder Creek, Northern California. And I was speaking with Howard Martin there. And then again, an amazing story. And he was explaining about the intelligence of the heart and how we can connect to basically our heart and see it on a screen and how our heart rhythm changes. And I was so excited. I said, hey, Howard, I want to get on board. I want to do this as well. Because it felt so much like my truth. We can do things, and I've been doing a lot of things in my life that I was good at, but it doesn't always mean that it's your purpose in doing it. And it took me a while to figure that out. So he says, well, come on board, we'll train you. So I went to Northern California, and I was being trained there. And I'm now a HeartMath certified trainer, what they call. I know people love to use the certified part. I heard you in the introduction.
For sure.
I'm not even sure whether I'm a certified soul or not.
Yeah.
But at least I am trained at the scientific part and how to present it. So I coach people one-on-one like you do, but I bring in all the science of the heart and how the heart and the brain basically communicate. But I also work with larger organizations or healthcare institutions. I often speak in front of audiences for unity churches are really keen on this subject. So this is basically how I got myself into it. And this is the thing that I do. Lately, probably about a year ago, I was asked also to work at a local clinic here and to work with war vets. So veterans who come back from war zones, but also RCMP, retired RCMP officers who suffer from PTSD or severe PTSD. And I'm part of a 4-week program that runs a couple of times a year. And that's where we help people heal. So.
Okay, great. That sounds like an awesome journey, especially to be able to get this training and then using it one-on-one, doing speaking events, and then also being able to use it in such a sacred healing space as working with those war vets. It sounds extremely powerful. I have a question about what you shared, Dirk. And I understand that you met with the, I don't know if you call him the president or founder of HeartMath. What was it about that experience that inspired you to become a trainer? Like, what was the key piece of that really lit that flame for you?
Well, that's a good question. And when you fall in love with somebody, it's sometimes hard to explain why you fall in love. You can say, hey, he's cute or whatever, or maybe he has some security behind him, like financial security. It doesn't matter, whatever it is. But usually when you fall in love, it's not about that. There is something that you feel in your stomach. It's the butterflies. It's of course related to the heart. And it's sometimes hard to explain. And when I wasn't falling in love with this guy from HeartMath, but the whole principle felt so true to me. I recognized my own truth in that, how I live on a day-to-day basis. And that is basically that no matter what modality we embrace, whether we, heal ourselves with crystals, or we go to chanting sessions, or we watch self-help movies or read books, everything that we seek at some point in our lives outside of us basically lies already inside of us, waiting to be explored. And that's basically starts at the heart. And that felt so right to me that I thought, this is it. Yeah.
Yay, I love that. That's so awesome.
Well, I see a smile. So you relate to that because we had some chats, of course, about it. Absolutely. And it feels really, really true. And I have to tell you, after having interviewed so many people, and I know, we chatted about real people, what is real? I think everybody at some stage in his or her life is is real at that point. I think we are all perfect. We have this expression, nobody's perfect, but I think we're all perfect at the stage where we are at our life with our current awareness. And when I was interviewing so many people, whether it was Neil Donald Walsh, or it was Muji, or it was like scientists, or India Arie, singer-songwriter, one of my favorite ones. At some point, and Wayne Dyer was a big mentor for me, and I thought, well, if we know that we tap into something larger than just ourselves, something larger that we are connected to, so whatever Wayne has, he taps into, is basically accessible to me. Why would I look up? Why would I always listen to other gurus or mentors? Well, I have everything to my own disposition. And that's basically, that's a very freeing concept. And that's when you get still inside and you start truly tapping into the intelligence of the heart. And we probably get to a little bit more in detail and talk about it. It's very powerful. And once you have had several experiences that truly show you how powerful it is, then there's no way going back anymore.
Yeah, because even what you told me that day when I got so emotional resonated so deeply with me. That's why I started crying, is because it was like information I already was aware of on some level, to have it validated and actually heard that quote unquote there's science that shows that it's truth. So how about, it would be great if you could share with the viewers, you know, some of these facts about HeartMath, like how does it work? What is it exactly? You know, I remember that little bit of a detail about the vagus nerve, but that'd be fascinating if you could share some of that, Dirk.
Yeah, sure. Well, about you getting emotional, it was definitely not about my haircut, I'm sure. But when you got emotional, there was a deeper knowing. It's the same when I was talking with Greg Braden and with Howard Martin. There is something that you know is so true that it can make you emotional, because sometimes we forget things. And I often like to talk about the inner child, you know, this little girl or this little boy inside that we've always forgotten for a long time. We grow up and we have our experiences, good and not so good. We have some traumatic experiences and we completely forget who we really are. And that's that little child inside. And when I work with traumatized people, for example, I often tell them, I said, well, it's not that I'm not interested in your story, but you have your story and I have my story, but that's of course not who we are. And a lot of people just have taken that identity from their story. And that's very scary, because now you want to change. You go to Shyloe and say, hey, Shyloe, I want to change. I need some help. But in the end, they are sometimes too scared to let go of that old story, because who are you then? So you have to reinvent yourself. And a lot of people don't like that so much. So if you talk about the inner child, that is basically also the core of who we are. And that's the soul, or that lies in the heart. And, you know, the heart is being called the seat of the soul, or whatever it is. We tap into this for thousands and thousands of years already. And to bring a little bit of science to it makes a lot of people become more interested about it. Because I know, especially men, I know a lot of guys who say, well, it's all nice what you do, but I'm not sure, you know, about the heart, and it feels a little soft, and it's a little silly, and about talking about energy. And I get that. You know, if you would have asked me 15 years ago, I probably would have told you, hey, I have more important stuff to do. Yeah, but I agree, yes. Yeah, so there's a lot of people who are on the fence, but they also feel that their current life isn't truly working any longer. Yeah, and they don't know where to go. They don't want to maybe be in a circle holding hands and chanting and all that, but they do embrace the science of who we really are. They really like that. And so I use it with intention. I realize that, of course. So it's a bit of a tool that I use as well. So our heart, yes? I was going to say, it was really helpful that day to hear the science behind it, right? Like, I'm a very intuitive person. And as you saw, the bumper sticker on the back of my vehicle says, listen to your heart above all other voices. But I still have a highly developed intellect. And that intellect
loves to know the science behind all of this stuff, right? It doesn't,
Mm-hmm.
I can participate in things willy-nilly, but I love that balance. I love to know the science and I love to feel it at the same time in my body. So
Yeah.
I think it's great, like that heart math has the science behind it.
Well, definitely. And so the more intellectual we are, the harder it
Mm-hmm.
is sometimes to make that transition more from the head to the heart. And it's not that
Mm-hmm.
we live in the heart always, because of course
Mm-hmm.
we have our brain for a good reason, but
Mm-hmm.
there should be a balance.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
if, for example, when I was a little kid and I went to elementary and then I came back, with my report card at the end of the season, and then my parents said, "Hey, great Dirk, you have all great marks, and here's a toonie because we're so happy." And then I grow older, and people keep encouraging you to be smart, to go to choose a good education, and we become more competitive. And we are so relying on this. And now there comes a time in your life where there's a breakup, or there is some other challenging situation, emotional situation in your life. And now
Mm-hmm.
you try to resolve it from here and it doesn't work. And you can sit there for days and for months and for years. You have to now make different transition to your heart. And
Mm-hmm.
there's a soothsaying, an old native soothsaying that says, the longest journey that you can make in your life is basically from your head to your heart.
Mm-hmm.
And that can take a while because we
Mm-hmm.
don't always get it. We try to resolve everything. We try to be smart. And we often feel better when we're smart because we look around, we look at others and say, wow, she has this and she has this amazing career with this beautiful car came with it, like whatever package and a good income.
Mm-hmm.
But if you talk about real people, if you want to be authentic, there's only one you, and it's very unique. And so
Mm-hmm.
the heart beats in a very unique pattern. It's basically like our signature. When you give like
Mm-hmm.
a fingerprint, then it is very unique. There's no right or wrong. It's a unique rhythm of the heart. But the
Mm-hmm.
rhythm of the heart basically also synchronizes with the rhythm of the electromagnetic field around the Earth. We all know there's a North Pole, there's a South Pole. When we have
Mm-hmm.
a compass, the old-fashioned compass, the needle points to the north. Why is
Mm-hmm.
that? Because there is a strong electromagnetic field around the Earth, but it interacts with our magnetic field. We do have a magnetic field, so the heart is the strongest generator of this electromagnetic field in the body.
Mm-hmm.
So it beats. Every time it beats, it generates an electromagnetic field. And we can measure that like up to 3 feet around our body. And this is how we interact with one another. This is how we interact with the larger field.
Mm-hmm.
And so when this field starts changing, I talk about the field. So I mean the electromagnetic field, and that is
Yeah.
basically caused by the rhythm of your heart. And so when that field changes, when the rhythm of your heart changes, for example, when you experience a different emotion, let's say you become anxious about something, or you are impatient, or you become worried about something, your autonomic nervous system registers that, and then your heart rhythm starts changing. It's not the heartbeats. It doesn't mean that your heart rate should go up or down, but it's the rhythm that changes. And that rhythm is basically giving information through the vagus nerve that you already mentioned. That's the largest nerve system in the body, and that communicates with the brain. And the brain has, the cortical function is, if you, for example, feel very stressed, we know that sometimes we have a hard time clearly thinking. Wait a minute, I have to calm down. I
Mm-hmm.
cannot think clearly right away or right now. And that means is that the rhythm of your heart changes. There goes a different quality signal up to the brain, and the brain starts changing in not in a very healthy way. And it starts communicating in a very incoherent way. And that means
Mm-hmm.
is that the different areas in the brain cannot communicate in an optimal way. And then you have a hard time thinking, you cannot focus so well, you cannot come up with smart solutions, and we feel it in our body. And that's
Mm-hmm.
basically, in brief, how the heart and the brain
Mm-hmm.
communicate.
Mm-hmm. Great. I love that. information, knowing about the electromagnetic field that extends out that 3 feet and how that impacts our interactions with other people. Now, in terms of the practicality of applying like this knowledge about this connection and the way the heart works, how do you use that, you know, with your vets, or how do you use that in your daily living? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, so there are several benefits. Like the ancient people already knew, you know, how to breathe. Mm-hmm. But if you pay attention to your own chest right now and you look how much it rises and falls with the breathing, it's not a lot. And it's not just you, everybody. When you look at your own chest, it's not really moving a lot. We basically breathe just to stay alive. But we can breathe in a different way. We can breathe deeper, and that helps activate the heart in a very powerful way. So what do you think when you take an inhale, you take a breath? Does your heart rate speed up or does it slow down?
I'm guessing it goes up.
Yeah, that's cool. So when we get ready for a task, like, you know, we get ready and then we slow down, and the heart rate literally slows down a little bit. You can measure that. And so when we start breathing in deeper and we start breathing out deeper, and the heart math tools and technologies show that when you breathe in very slow for about 5 seconds, and we can do that all together. We can breathe in very slow for 5 seconds, and then you breathe out very slow for 5 seconds. So your heart rate speeds up and it slows down, and it speeds up way more than you normally do, and it slows down because you breathe deeper. And now the second step is you bring the awareness to your heart. It's not that you start thinking of your heart with your intellect. No, you start feeling your heart. You can put your hand on your heart, yes, but you just bring the awareness to your heart. And usually it's easy when you breathe and you feel the air flow through your heart. Then your awareness is there. And science says where the attention goes is where the energy flows. And so that means is that you start bringing more activation around the heart muscles, everything around the heart and this magnetic field. And then a third step is to start bringing in a different emotion, because already a little while back I said emotions have an incredible influence on our heart rhythm and how we feel. So let's say you feel very anxious and you have been feeling that for a while. That's okay. You acknowledge what you feel, but then you say, well, with intention, I can bring in a different emotion of maybe appreciation or compassion or care or love. And now the heart feels that. And what is so cool, Shyloe, is when you hook somebody up to the monitor, we have the heart rhythm monitor, and you start doing these exercises, you start literally seeing from like a chaotic signal, it starts showing, you know, if you've seen it, we've done it together.
Yeah, a couple times,
these
right?
Beautiful, like sine wave lines. And that's when the heart becomes more coherent. And when the heart becomes more coherent, there is a more coherent signal flowing up from the heart to the brain. And now you basically give your brain the permission to function in a better way. And so the information flow between the heart and the brain is on a continuous basis, but the flow from the heart to the brain is 5,000 times stronger than that back from the brain to the heart. Can you imagine?
Well, it was just so, when you and I did that those couple of times, it was really encouraging and inspiring, right? Because I could get that visual of that erratic sort of rhythm. And then as I breathed, to really see how beautiful the pattern became. And so it was like, it encouraged me to want to try that practice more and to have the impacts of that practice in like my body, to know how it was positively impacting my brain and my heart, to be able to just, you know, as you were talking about, just to review for the viewers in case they want to try it at home, is that deep breathing to 5 in and out to 5, bringing your attention to your heart and not thinking, but just bringing your attention, like you were saying, imagining the breath in, you know, having relationship to the heart, and then bringing up, you know, an emotion, if you can feel. And I think what you've suggested to me in the past was appreciation
Yeah, don't
or
visualize the situation. Don't
yes,
visualize it with your
yes,
brain,
the physical
but
sensation,
just
sort of.
know what it feels like. You can
Hmm.
visualize that you walk on a beach,
Right,
but you can feel what it feels like to have the sun on your back and the
right.
ocean washing
Yeah,
over your feet. You can
yeah.
feel it,
It's
and that's
not about
feeling.
imagining up here. No, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And so when that happens, you think, okay, but what is it? It feels good, and it is not related. It's in a way maybe a little related to like meditation or other techniques, and
yeah,
the breathing through the heart. Some people, especially people who are practiced in yoga, say, well, I'm actually used to do more belly breaths. There is
right.
no right or wrong breathing,
Yeah,
but to become optimal coherent, this is a very specific technique, and you
yes,
breathe through the heart. And
yes,
so this works to become coherent, and another technique works for something else.
yeah, yeah,
But the power lies in the fact is that you change. So your heart, your autonomic nervous system, and your brain start syncing
yeah,
with one another.
yeah,
And what is really important is that your autonomic nervous system is basically looking after all the internal functions. 90%
yeah,
of the internal functions of your body are being regulated through the autonomic nervous
right.
system. And when you start syncing that with your heart and brain,
Yeah.
then you're in optimal state.
So, in terms of what you've done with vets or even in your own life, I imagine, like, because some of my training is in neuropsychology and the relationship between the mind and body, so mind and heart in a lot of ways, and
Mm-hmm.
that the impact of having you know, a really resilient or really, what would be like full relationship between those two and how it affects you in your daily living in terms of stress, in terms of connection with other people. Like, we don't have a ton of time left today. I want to make
Mm-hmm.
sure that any viewers can ask questions, but before we, kind of turn it over to anything like that, if there are questions, excuse me, I'm just wondering, either if you have like a short story about yourself or about one of the vets in which how this practice affected you or them in terms of living, daily living.
Yeah. Well, I can, of course, go on for a long time, but I'll keep it very
Mm-hmm.
simple.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, when you have a stressful situation out there and you feel like a victim almost, you say, again, why me? You
Mm-hmm.
know? And when you start developing this healthy signal and this healthy field around the body, and the body starts literally changing, you start feeling it, you become more calm.
Mm-hmm.
Now you still see that situation because that situation might not walk away from you,
Mm-hmm.
but now it's not so much in your face any longer. So now there is like, it's almost like an insulation wall between where the cold air outside of your house is and the warmth inside. You say, yeah, I still see that situation, but it's not affecting me so much anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So you feel way more calm, and you feel it's easier to respond in a decent manner, and your body feels calmer.
So would you say in your own practice, because I haven't been doing this as long, but when you reflect back, I hear what you're saying in terms of it creating an insulating wall, but would you also say that that means for you, and I don't know, that it has given you the ability to connect more deeply with yourself so that when the things happen outside of you, you can reside more in that observer state. You can feel less controlled or affected by that event. Like you've developed a deeper, real connection with who you are.
Yeah, well, on my business card, it says, I'm an intuitive speaker and coach, and it means basically is that I don't need any books to tap into something, but first you need to be able to understand yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the cool, maybe short example is that you develop a way deeper connection with your intuition, because your intuition is basically residing in your heart, or is being activated or accessed through your heart.
Mm-hmm.
And I do, and a lot of people are not familiar with that, I know, but I do remote viewing, where you basically, if you have a picture somewhere, you have never shown it to me, I know what it is. I tap into the intuition of the intuitive part of you. And that is really, really cool. So there was a guy I was working with, and he says, well, you're probably pretty good at remote viewing because you do so much heart math. And I said, well, I don't know. So we tried it, and I was drawing this picture that I've never seen, and he was amazed by and myself as well. And that was a really cool confirmation that I thought, okay, literally, it's not just a nice concept that everything that I need to know lies from outside already lies inside of me. but it was a beautiful confirmation. And so when I need to know something, I become still and I start doing hard focused breathing. And then I ask myself a question. I said, I like to have an answer on something that I ponder on. And then usually when you are quiet and don't force any outcome with this, then you surrender, and usually something comes to you in a picture or a person shows up, and it literally works like that. And that is super, super cool.
I totally agree. I love that. Yeah. Yeah. And that for me is a practice that I still struggle with in terms of the slowing down enough piece. You know, I've practiced that off and on over the last, 20 years. But there's times, Dirk, where I just want an answer now. And I have a hard time slowing down. So it's a good reminder. It's a good reminder to take that time.
Yeah, and everybody in his or her way struggles with that in some level. Yeah. We have been hardwired. We've been programmed for 20, 30, 40 years. So it takes a little bit to change that. But only if you are genuine. And I often also say to you is that you should ask yourself the question, what is the intention behind what I'm doing? And if the intention is really genuine and is not coming from fear, then accessing the heart is way better than just thinking that you maybe get something out of this to get smarter or whatever it is. That's coming from fear. If you come from passion and love for life and for yourself, then you will always be supported, because the universe is always supporting you. It's never against you. This is not why you're here.
Excellent. So our time is pretty much done for today, but I don't know if there's any questions, so we'll just talk for a tiny bit longer. And if people want to ask a question, then we'll have space for that. But I know you've been doing some events in Vernon, and so I think you have an event coming up in the near future, don't you, Dirk?
Well, I do several events on an ongoing basis. People can check out if they want on my website, or I do heart math events. I do events, often speaking events for organizations, but also for unity churches. Right. I have end of November, I have also a retreat coming up in Costa Rica. I work with a Spanish friend of mine who is basically helps people heal themselves. He does that already for over 20 years. Yeah. And so we bring in a lot of science, and we start literally helping people to change the hardwired processes, what you were just talking about, in very cool ways. And we do that in a unique setting, somewhere close on by the beach. And so if people want to stay informed about that, just go to my website, dirkterpstra.com, or maybe sign up for my newsletter.
Okay, great. Sounds good. Well, this was awesome. I'm happy you joined me today. And I put up on the little banner at the bottom, I don't know if you can see that on your end, I just had up how that people could contact you at your website, dirkterpstra.com. And people can always get a hold of me at Shyloe at planforjoy.com too. So yeah, I'm excited to hear more about this retreat in Costa Rica.
Well, yeah, it's just really exciting. I like to help people, and we talked about it as well a little bit. I really like to help people transform their lives. And it's easy to say, I transform your life, but I'm not transforming any lives, but I help people transform their own lives in very cool ways. And it's nice to have a feel-good retreat somewhere on the beach. But I want people to come back and they say, wow, I can't go back to my old self any longer. Yes. And that's what I want. That's what I want, because that's why people sign up. And one last thing, do we have 1.5 minutes?
We have a lot, sure. We can, people can
well, there's a lot going on at the moment about the human resonance and the higher frequency and around the earth, and that we are basically with a full moon, and people say, hey, I feel bad, or retrograde. I wanted to mention is that when you become coherent and you are really coherent in your heart and around your body, inside of your body, then you are not so much at the mercy of everything that's happening around you.
This is great. I love this information, because you know what? I always say Mercury retrograde, I don't even notice it. I don't know what people are talking about.
Well, that's what it is. And it's literally, science also proves that. So, and again, the universe is not here to get you or to stab you in the back or whatever. You are here with a purpose. And so the universe is changing. The frequency is changing. Yes, that's another discussion. But if you start becoming coherent, then you're basically riding the wave of a higher consciousness from the universe. And that is perfect. But if you're not conscious and you basically feel that things are changing and you feel unsettled, then you feel like a victim.
Yes. Excellent. Maybe we could talk again. Maybe you just need to come back, Dirk. So thank you very much for being here. Dirk Terpstra, heart math trainer, transformation specialist.
Well, I'm very grateful that we can have a chat and the work that you do, what I said again. And thank you for having me on your live stream. I really appreciate it. Yeah.
Okay. And everybody, you know, you can still put comments or questions after the fact. Dirk and I can both answer them. And please share this video far and wide because, as Dirk already said, we like to share this message with others about transformation and living from the heart. So thanks.
Thank you,
See you guys out later. Bye for now. Okay, there's always a second.